U.S. faces economic challenges as Japan and China trim U.S. Treasury holdings, shifting alliances in East Asia. In recent developments, tensions between the United States and Japan have been rising, primarily due to two major events. The first involves Japan reducing its holdings of U.S. Treasury securities, a move that signals its efforts to diversify investments and reduce dependency on U.S. debt. This shift could potentially increase U.S. borrowing costs and disrupt financial markets. The second issue stems from the U.S. blocking a Japanese company from acquiring a U.S. steel firm, citing national security concerns. Japan, in response, has sued the U.S., citing the politically driven and protectionist nature of the move. These actions have raised doubts about the future of U.S.-Japan economic relations, indicating a shift from cooperative trade relations to more protectionist approaches. Over the past decade, not only Japan but also China have been reducing their holdings of U.S. Treasury securities. In 2013, China held around $1.27 trillion in U.S. Treasuries, but by November 2024, this had fallen to $768 billion. Similarly, Japan's holdings, which once peaked at $1.29 trillion in 2020, have seen a steady decline, dropping to $1.098 trillion by November 2024, reflecting a shift in their foreign exchange reserve management and broader economic strategies. Japan and China have, however, been cooperating more in recent months. During talks in Beijing, Japan and China's foreign ministers agreed to begin discussions on security matters, with plans for further economic dialogue. This included addressing environmental issues, healthcare cooperation, and the contentious issue of Japan's release of treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear plant, with an international monitoring system to be implemented. On the financial front, Japan's move away from U.S. Treasuries signals a larger strategic shift. Historically, Japan was the largest foreign holder of U.S. debt, but recent trends have shown a gradual reduction in their investments. In response to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and rising domestic financial pressures, Japan has sought to realign its economic strategy. Not only has Japan diversified its investment portfolio, but it has also become more focused on strengthening its own currency, the yen, and seeking better returns through other global markets, including Europe and Asia. The reduction in Japan's treasury holdings could have significant implications for the U.S. economy, as it may result in higher borrowing costs due to decreased demand for U.S. debt. This shift could also influence global financial stability, highlighting the potential vulnerability of global reliance on U.S. debt as Japan adjusts its strategy. Japan's actions indicate a desire for greater financial independence, which aligns with its broader efforts to reduce its dependence on U.S. policies. Japan's evolving economic strategy extends to strengthening ties with key partners, including China and the European Union, signaling a potential shift in global alliances. As Japan seeks to diversify and stabilize its economy, these developments could mark the beginning of a significant realignment in global financial and political relationships. Let's take a closer look at Nippon Steel's attempted acquisition of U.S. Steel, which was blocked in December 2023. Nippon Steel, Japan's leading steel manufacturer, had planned to acquire U.S. Steel for about $14.9 billion, aiming to create one of the world's largest steel producers. This deal was expected to position Nippon Steel as the second-largest steel company globally, boosting its production capacity and expanding its market presence. The agreement also promised to preserve the U.S. Steel brand, keep its headquarters in Pittsburgh, and maintain existing contracts with the United Steelworkers Union. However, in January 2025, President Joe Biden intervened, blocking the deal due to national security concerns. The Biden administration stressed the importance of keeping critical industries like steel production under domestic control, given their significance to national defense and infrastructure. This decision was based on an evaluation by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, CFI-US, which assesses the security risks of foreign investments. In response, both Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel filed lawsuits against the Biden administration, claiming that the decision was politically motivated and lacked a valid legal foundation. They argued that the blockage violated their constitutional due process rights and statutory procedural requirements. They also accused local competitors and labor unions of trying to sabotage the deal. The Japanese government expressed confusion over the ruling, viewing it as a potential source of tension in US-Japan relations. Japan's industry minister called the decision incomprehensible, raising concerns about future investments and broader economic ties between the two nations. This situation highlights the complexities of US-Japan economic relations. Japan's reduction in US Treasury holdings reflects broader trends in market and policy dynamics, while the blocked acquisition underscores the US government's focus on national security in foreign investments. Both events have significant implications for the economic and diplomatic relations between these two long-standing allies. The relationship between the US and Japan has evolved over time. Their interactions began in the mid-19th century, with the US opening Japan's ports and introducing technologies that fueled Japan's industrialization. In the early 20th century, Japan's regional ambitions conflicted with US interests, leading to agreements like the 1905 Taft-Katsura Agreement, which defined spheres of influence. Tensions escalated, especially during the 1930s as Japan expanded its territorial reach in Asia, ultimately leading to the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 and the US entering World War II. Post-war, the US led Japan's occupation and reconstruction, with significant reforms that shaped Japan into a democratic, peaceful nation. The US-Japan Security Treaty of 1951 solidified Japan as a key ally in countering Soviet influence during the Cold War. Japan's economic miracles, driven by strong exports and access to US markets, marked a period of rapid growth, but trade conflicts emerged as Japan's economy grew, leading to tensions in the 1970s and 1980s. In recent decades, US-Japan relations have strengthened across various sectors, including defense, trade, and technology. The two nations cooperate on security through joint military exercises and share a strong economic partnership, with bilateral trade exceeding $200 billion annually. Technological collaborations, particularly in AI, space exploration, and renewable energy, have driven innovation. The US and Japan also work together on global issues like North Korea's nuclear threat and disaster relief efforts. Japan's reduction in its US Treasury holdings is part of a strategy to diversify its financial assets and reduce its dependence on the US market. This shift reflects Japan's efforts to strengthen ties with regions like the European Union and Southeast Asia. At the same time, the blocked acquisition of US steel complicates the bilateral relationship, with both companies and Japan accusing the US of prioritizing politics over mutual economic interests. If the Trump administration returns, its protectionist policies could further strain US-Japan relations, particularly regarding trade imbalances, defense contributions, and foreign investments. This could push Japan to deepen its relationships with other countries, including India, Australia, and members of the EU. Japan has already made efforts to engage more closely with China, despite historical tensions, and is pursuing alternative trade platforms like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, to reduce reliance on the US-dominated global economic system. As Japan navigates these changes, it may seek to rebalance its alliances, fostering a more multipolar global environment where Japan plays a key role in balancing competing interests. The future of US-Japan relations will depend on how both nations manage their domestic priorities while maintaining their shared commitment to global stability and prosperity. For now, Japan's evolving strategies and its growing engagement with China add an additional layer of complexity to this already delicate relationship. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to stay connected. You can also check out another video on our channel now.